Welcome to another Nature's Glory Cabin Off-Road. We're back in the backcountry byway. This is part 2 of the 1223 ride. We lost one of our riders, had a child that needed to go home, so all we have left is one guy from the Four Seasons Jeepers. We're doing Pumpkin Hollow and Old Fincastle. So if you look here, we started up at the top where we came across Spas Creek from before. On 713 went down Pumpkin Hollow, and I made a little misturn when I got off, and then we came back 613, went to the Slade rest area, and the Slade rest area here all the way down Highway 11 to 3 Mile Branch Road and on to Old Fincastle Road, and worked our way back out to 715. Here we are getting into Pumpkin Hollow. We're going to pull off to the side here and visit for a minute before we head on down the trail. You'll see the other two behind me. The Bronco was the one that had to leave, unfortunately, so it was just the two of us to finish out the day. I just thought I'd leave a little of it here so you can see who was with us. And they're going to go ahead and take on off. They were here for a little while. The little boy played, and then they decided they needed to head on out. It was getting up into the afternoon. That was DJ and his family, and this is Cody and his family from Four Seasons Jeepers, and we're going to go up Pumpkin Hollow here. What you'll notice as you go up through here, when you get past the farmhouse, there is a split. Looks like there you can go up to the right where there's some kind of cabins, etc., and to the left is where you actually get on the trail. And it's going to be right here in a minute. There it is right there, and a little title on the film, excuse me, the recording. This side is the roughest side, and it's actually fairly short. I mean, probably switching into 4 low here. Pumpkin Hollow is always changing. It can be always challenging. Sometimes it's harder than others. I've give this one around a 4 or a 5, depending on your equipment. I'm on 33s with a 3¼ inch lift. If you have bigger tires and more lift, it would be a little easier for you. Cody has, I think, 35s and a 4-inch lift. I've sped all this up just a little bit, and you can see it as we go through. Sometimes you can see the ruts, sometimes you can't see them as well. This is a little last chance to turn around there on the left, and then we get into the meat of the trail. It's uphill in this direction, and it's a little rougher in this direction. Coming the other way, it is a little easier. There are the drop-offs and the ruts still, but again, gravity's your friend going down. We're going up here. It's not very wet. It still hasn't started raining much. Again, this is December 23rd, 2023. Every now and then I'll drag my rear skid plate in the mud, depending on how deep the ruts are. Wasn't too bad on this day. Some days are worse than others. And you can see this little area here. You pretty well take the right side. It was a little more flexy through it. It looks like more people have gone to the right and kind of worn it down more on the right. You can go the other way, but it's a little steeper rut in the other direction. I mean on the left side. Further left, it's a little steeper ruts. Only going in one direction here. Now there's some rocks. There's a little rock shelf here. Left camera doesn't catch it as much, but it's a good foot or so rock shelf. Not too hard to climb. But there are rocks through here and mud. And this is pretty dry for Pumpkin Hollow. It's always wet, but sometimes if we've had a lot of rain, it's a lot worse. Again, don't forget, this is December of 23. Not a lot of room here to get out and do other filming and picture taking. It's pretty steep and pretty slick, so we don't get much of that done. About all we actually do get is some rear camera video, and depending on how close the person is behind us, we don't really always get very good rear camera video. Now we're approaching the top, and the top up here is where the biggest obstacle is. Generally, you can get off to the right of it and not have to climb directly on it. I usually go straight up it. I turn my front locker on, it pulls me right up. If you don't have a front locker, I'd suggest to not be as hard on equipment and go a little further to the right. Here I am going to go straight up it here. It's a lot more steep than it looks on the video. Again, if you hit it too hard, again, you're putting more wear and tear on your equipment if you didn't have a locker. You have four-wheel drive, you have lockers, use them. Make sure equipment lasts longer. Here's the rock right here, and Cody's getting ready to come up it. Again, he got a little bit bigger tire. Doesn't seem like it'll make that much of a difference, but in reality, more than you think. I guess that wasn't the rock, so we're still coming up the hill here. You can see the rocks behind me. The terrain a little better from the rear camera. The front camera's up higher and flattens it out a lot more. The rear camera is probably about the top of the rear tire in height, which is about 33 inches. It's literally sitting on the rear bumper with a magnetic mount. Now here's the little rock shelf, the biggest one. You see, you barely see his headlights there, and he's going to climb right up it. Didn't have any trouble. And now we're taking off on down the hill. I don't show much of this side. It's significantly smoother than it used to be. It has been bulldozed and really doesn't have but a little bit of messy, muddy stuff in the middle of it. And here's a little place where there's a nice rock, couple of rock features we drive between. I think I want to have a little rear camera here showing Cody coming between those two rocks. And then there's one other place at a water crossing. It has a big rock sitting in the water. And here it comes. And this is, you're getting close to the end when you get to here. We'll show that from the rear a little bit too. And you're pretty well out of Punkin Hollow by the time you get to this point. There's just a little bit more. I think there's one more little water crossing right here at the cabins. Once you get to the cabins, it's smooth sailing from here on out to Blacktop. You take the Blacktop all the way out to 599 Upper Cane Creek, and I made a little accidental turn like I showed on the map. I went right when I should have went left to go back where we wanted to. We headed back to the Slade Rest area so everyone could have a little bathroom break. And you can see here, this is coming out of Punkin Hollow. You see the sign there. I accidentally turned right. I cut all that out, and we ended up coming back this way. And you saw the 599 sign, I believe. Now, this is where I made the mistake. Excuse me, this is it. And I cut that out, and we ended up back at Slade. And we're going to stop over here at the rest area before we head to Hell Creek / Old Fincastle. We're using Hell Creek as a shortcut. That's the most popular way. Hell Creek's a very smooth ride. We'll see if I even have any of it on there. So we're done with what we need to do here at the rest area, and we're heading back out. It's several miles down the road. I'll cut most of that out. And I forget the name of the road we're going to turn left on. It's on the map at the beginning, 3 something. I don't remember exactly what it is. We're probably going to be going 8 or 10 miles. Going to make a left here. And we're going to go back here. This is old Highway 11 that we're going to attach to here, and we need to go left here, and then we're going to go down to I believe it's Holly Road or Tip Top Road here. We're going to drive it on out, and then all of a sudden there's the beginning of Hell Creek. We're going to hit it. I think I have a couple of rock features that I left in. This takes maybe 15 minutes to go all the way across, and it puts you awful close to old Fincastle. If you go straight to Fincastle from other directions, you're not on trails and you're on highway, and it's a little bit longer mileage wise. As you can see, this is pretty smooth. There are a couple of spots that are starting to wash out. There's one right there. It's gotten a little worse over time. And here's one of the rock features. I think we'll show this from behind with Cody coming by it. A little different perspective from that angle. There's several back here. I think I just picked out two of what I think were the best ones. A little minor water crossing here. The water can be up. I've been told it can get pretty high. I've never seen it over 6 or 8 inches deep in the last couple of years. That doesn't mean it can't happen during the rainy season. Always be aware. This is the little bigger one. And on the left up here is the entrance to MFRP. That's a rock climbing area. Miller's Fork Recreational Preserve, I believe is what it stands for. And rock climbers go back there. It's about a mile back in there, but you can drive back there if you want to. Mostly gravel, some holes, nothing very hard. Here's the final rock feature on the way out. There's this big rock wall, and there's a smaller one just up to it. We'll have a little rear camera to see what that looks like from the other perspective. You can see that from the back. And we're going to go up here to the end, and we're going to end up on Shoemaker Road. And we're going to make a left on Shoemaker Road. And then we're going to go Shoemaker Ridge Road, excuse me. We're going to make a left here, and we're going to go down to Old Fincastle. It's not marked very well out here at the road. You'll see basically the next road you see to the right, and it's a paved road to start with. So you cut down it and stay on it, and then eventually it turns into gravel, and there's a dbbb sign down there. And we get to the trail part. The trail starts pretty quick. It's fairly steep and already has some ruts and things right here at the beginning. Be sure to watch out for one another. Things can happen. Unexpected things. And here's another one of those rock features from the rear. Didn't look like much in the front. And we go down the hill. It's a fairly rocky hill. It's not difficult, kind of bone jarring in places if you hit them too hard. Just pick your way through it. You should make through it pretty fine. I wouldn't recommend this for stock vehicles. You're going to need at least a 33-inch tire and a little bit of clearance to do this. I've seen a lot of people make it through this part and just turn around when they get to the difficult spot because they can't make it through it, don't have enough clearance or enough tire. Takes a few minutes to work your way through this. Notice the split in the rock there to the left. Cody's going to come across that and straddle that. That should show a different perspective. I just went to the right of it. You'll see that from the rear here in just a minute. And we get down here a little further, it starts to rut up a little bit more, but it's passable. It's not impossible at all. Again, a little extra clearance, a little more tire. This is not an easy trail. The beginning here is probably a 3.5. It turns into a 4 and maybe a 5 a little further on. Bigger rocks, water, mud, etc. Here's that same hill with Cody coming down it. And he's going to straddle the split there. I went to the driver's side of it, the passenger side of it. And he didn't negotiate that any trouble. Might be able to see the rocks a little better from the rear. You see the rear tires shaking, gives you a little more of a perspective on how much the Jeep is taking a pounding on these rocks. I did speed this up a little bit. As we pick our way on down the hill. Again, there's that tree where I'd already passed from the front. Now we worked our way to the water crossing. This water crossing can be deep. Most of the time I see it around 24 to 30 inches deep. It can get deeper. I've heard stories of it over hoods, so be prepared. I just thought I'd show that from the left front wheel so you get a little better idea how deep it is on this day, December 23rd, 2023. There's a little flexy spot right here in front of me just as you get out of the water. And here we're going to show this from behind. And I think I have some camcorder footage of Cody coming through the water. Here we go. He's on 35s. You can see the water is about halfway up, so that makes it 16 to 18 inches deep probably. Little shot of the family there as they went by. Now at this spot right here, you'll see something to the left. That's actually Walker Creek Trail coming in from the left there. It is much more difficult. I would not recommend doing it, especially in this direction, which is much more difficult. Just continue on Old Fincastle up this hill. This hill here can be slick, can be wet, and rutted. I tend to drag my rear skid plate almost every time up it. Again, 33-inch tires. And my 8.8 rear end's a little bit bigger than the stock Jeep rear ends. You can see I got hung up on it. And you'll see behind me, right there, you can see a little stripe in the mud. That's my differential skid plate scooting across it. So I just get a little run at it. And I don't know if I have this from the rear. If I do, you'll see it. Yeah, here you go. There's where I hit it. It drugged me, so I backed up. So now I'm going to hit it a little harder, and you'll see that telltale scrape from the differential skid plate all the way up in two different places. I do my civic duty to kind of grind that down a little bit for everybody else. So once you get through that, it's not too much trouble to get all the way up to the rock garden. Once you get to the rock garden, this is where the biggest obstacles are. Getting across the rock is not the only thing. There's a few other things you can do here. There's an easier route and easier line and a harder line. I typically do the harder line because I have a good breakover angle. If you have a long wheelbase and not big tires, you might want to do the easier line, which would be to put your right tire on top of that rock and keep your left tire down in the lower part and go over it off camber. And once you get off of it, there's still quite a few rocks up here. Now we'll see this. You'll see what I mean by going over the rock here. And now you can see the other rocks. After we do it from the rear one more time. Notice that my hitch hit the rock there. You saw a little puff of rock dust. And now we're going to go up through here, picking our way through these rocks. If you pick the wrong direction, you can hit a differential. Not a big deal. You have to back up and realign yourself. It's usually to put your tire on the biggest rock. That way it can just cruise right over it. On a Jeep, the front differential is on the driver's side. So typically the driver's side wheel is what you want to put on a rock so you can get that differential over it. And here's some camcorder video of me going over the rock. Right up and right over. Now I've done this quite a few times. You may or may not have the same experience. As you see bouncing around because of all the rocks. Now Cody here is in a JKU. He's going to go over the rock. He's going to take the hard line. And even though he has 35s at a 4-inch lift, you'll see that it can still bottom out. He got a little hung up on some rocks back there. If you don't pick the right place, you'll kind of get stuck in between some rocks. And he doesn't have any traction devices, no limited slip, no lockers or nothing at this point. So sometimes it takes a little more effort to get past these spots. But he did fine. He got through everything we intended to do on this day. Again, 35-inch tires, I believe a 4-inch lift. We're talking about it, but you don't see or hear us talking about how to attack this rock. Gets up, if you notice, he's so long that he dropped on the rock slider as opposed to before the rear tire caught up with it. If you want to watch this and see what we did and see how he made it, enjoy. Instead of turning too sharp to left to pat driver over it, he's going to go a little straighter and try to get that back tire going over it, and there it goes. Didn't take much, but once that tire started going up, it kept him from turtling there. Don't forget, always have recovery equipment. See that winch on the front? Very least we could have put it on a tree and pulled him through it. Again, could have gone off camber and gone through there without having to worry about turtling, but he chose to do the hard line, and it wasn't a big a deal. We got him through it. That gives you an example of how you can get through it and how you can kind of hang up as well. Here we are climbing the hill on the way out of Old Fincastle. You get up here to the top, you hit blacktop, follow it all the way out on 2016. 2016 takes you to 715, and you can go left or right on 715 if you want to go back to Slade or if you want to go through the gorge. We usually turn right and go through the gorge, go back to the cabin, turn left if you want to go to Slade and the Cowley's campground or the other campgrounds. Hope everybody's enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.